can I be frank with you? Can I say this? I think sometimes you and I also feel guilty. When you see poverty and you see need, you wrestle with it. You're like, well, how come I got the life I got? Am I better than them? And these were the same wrestles my family had. We wanted to serve, we wanted to help, we felt guilty, we saw it, but we also felt powerless. Who are we? And we didn't know what to do, and so we spoke. We were living in Hong Kong at this time. We spoke to NGOs across the region, and we said, how do we best serve you? What do we do? And you know what they said to us? It was beautiful. They said to us, be you. And we said to them, what? They said, be you, and we said, what do you mean, be you? And they said, well, my father is an accountant. My mother is in PR. And they said to us, they said, we don't have you. Could you be you and use you to serve with us people in need? And this was liberating. You know, if they had told me that I had to become someone other, if they told me I had to become Mother Teresa, difficult, right? She's a woman. I'm a guy. She's short. She's dead. But if I can be me, I could serve. And so as a family, we did. We used our skills, words and numbers. We were helping people in need. And then one night, we had dinner. I don't know, have you ever had dinner? Did you know you haven't? Well, tonight will be your first. Very nice. They're very good. So my family was having dinner. We're eating dinner. The phone rings. And I don't know what you do in your house, but we answered it. And the lady said to us, she said, hey, good evening. We said, oh, hey. She said, I'm sorry to bother you. We're like, no, that's okay. She said, I got a problem. We said, what's your problem? She said, we've just had a flood in northern China. It's the worst flood in this area in 100 years. 2 million people have lost everything. What can your family do? And you imagine someone calls you, sir, what's your name? Douglas. Someone calls you tonight and says, hey, Douglas, sorry to bother you. 2 million people in anywhere. They've lost everything. What do you do? What do you say?
It's a lot of people. I don't know. It's that scope, that scale.
Yeah. The first part is what we said. He said, and that's the same thing we said. The lady picked up the phone and we said, 2 million people have lost everything. What can your family do? And we said, what? I mean, we're a mother, a father, 2 kids, and a dog. You know, how do we help 2 million people? I didn't know. We offered our skills again, and the lady said to us, no, she said, I don't need your skills now. Now the temperature is going to minus 20 degrees. If they don't get clothing, they'll die. Can you please help me find clothing for 2 million people? Douglas. So we checked our cupboard. We started counting T-shirts. We did not have 2 million. I had a dog. I thought, well, maybe I could skin the dog and make a jacket, or I don't know. We didn't know what to do. So we went to see my godmother in hospital, and as I was standing there, we overheard 2 women beside us speaking, and one lady said to the other lady, she said, hey, I'm sorry to bother you. The 2 ladies were talking. One woman said, but I've got clothing. I've got all these things I want to give to poor people, and I don't know any poor people. Do you know any poor people? And the other lady was like, oh, I don't know any poor people. And we're listening. We're like, excuse me, but we know 1 or 2 million poor people. So these ladies, they gave us 19 boxes of clothing. We sent them to China. We thought we were done. The woman called back. She said the quality was good, but not the quantity. We need more. So the second time we collected from a high school, 72 boxes. And then someone gave us 136, then 248. Then it was like a hole opened in the heavens and just stuff poured in. And do you know, it was nuts. A funky thing about Hong Kong, if anyone is here from Hong Kong, love you. Well, funky thing about Hong Kong, you can agree with me on this, is that Hong Kong does not have a very big second-hand culture. It's not very big within Hong Kong. And so suddenly we began to get phone calls. A bank called us, and the bank said, hey, we're getting rid of our old computers. Do you need 500 computers? And if a bank offers you 500 computers, what do you say? Well, you don't use profanity, but you say, yes, please. 3 weeks ago, I saw a picture. I saw a picture of a school that we're helping in Ghana. This school's IT class is comprised, the teacher teaches his IT class with a hand-drawn poster of a CPU, monitor, mouse, and keyboard. And twice a year, they have enough money to take their kids on a bus into the city to see a real computer. So when a bank offers you 500 computers, we say, yes, please. So that started our computer section. And then we got another phone call. Another bank called us. They said, hey, we're moving. Can you come and take our old furniture? We said, well, maybe. How many pieces of furniture do you have? And they said, we've got 10. We have 10 floors. of furniture. And then Cathay Pacific, the airlines, they gave us all of their blankets. Then Timberland gave us container loads of shoes. Then 20,000 suits, 60,000 socks. Suddenly this thing just snowballed. And we moved from Hong Kong's old hospital to the old airport to an army base where we have 10 acres and hundreds of containers of resources that we ship globally. But our problem was the planet. We kept sending stuff, but we'd send one shipment, say, to Ghana, and 5 other NGOs would ask for a shipment again. So we'd send one, get a request for 5. Send another, get multiple requests, another multiple. And we ended up with 800 orders from 100 countries. And then all around the world, businesses called us. They said, dude, you took things from Hong Kong. I got a warehouse full of shoes in Korea. I got clothing in Malaysia. I got a warehouse full of, a hotel full of furniture in Scotland. You know the World Bank? Do you know the World Bank, they were getting rid of their old computers and they were throwing away 30 containers of computers. And so we're looking at all of these needs, we're looking at all of these resources, and we're thinking, it's the age of the internet. People get married online. Didn't mean you, sir. I was just saying in general. But if you do, congrats. There must be like a humanitarian equivalent of eBay that connects these needs and resources online. And so we looked for this online website that could match these groups together. We couldn't find it, so we went to the UN. And we said, why isn't there a global platform that we can see to link these all together? And they said to us, because it doesn't exist, but it's needed. And then we were asked if we could build it. And so the second piece of our work is an online platform. It's called Global Hand. It's kind of like online dating, but don't get excited. It's just between businesses and NGOs. And so we built this second piece. And then the dude in charge of the United Nations, his name is Ban Ki-moon, he wrote to us. He said, we know that the solutions of tomorrow are not going to be siloed. The solutions of tomorrow is not just going to be us doing our thing and businesses theirs and NGOs theirs. We need to work together. The problem is how? For example, how do businesses find the United Nations? If I said to most of you right now, there's a tsunami happening right now, and I said, call the United Nations. Can you hear me now? All right, good, me too. But if I gave you my cell phone right now, and I said to you, call the United Nations, who would you call? 911. Excellent. I don't even know what the number is in Vietnam, but 911 is definitely not the UN's number. I know that. And the reality is this, Ban Ki-moon, he wrote to us and he said, we know we need to partner with businesses. The challenge is that businesses don't always know how to reach the UN. And so the UN asked us if we could make a copy of our website to sit on the UN homepage. So we built for free the UN's business platform. It's called business.un.org. And if you go to this platform, it smells like the UN, but it's this platform that we built for them for free. But then we moved to where we are. We moved to this old army base, and the Hong Kong government, they said to us, we want to bring tourists to you guys. And we said to the Hong Kong government, what? I mean, they're welcome, but why? And the government said, it's not that tourists want to come, but we want them to come because we want them to realize that Hong Kong is not just about finance and entertainment, but that Hong Kong cares. This is Hong Kong's resources and land serving the world. Can we bring tourists to you? And we said to the government, yeah, sure, tourists can come, but I don't know about tourists. So I had to speak to a man who knew a lot about tourists, a very intelligent man, and if you don't know anything about tourists, I'll tell you what he shared with me. He said this, he said, all tourists, all of them require 3 things. We said, oh, what are they? He said, number 1, they all need toilets because they pee. We're like, oh, I didn't know that, tourists pee. We wrote that down. Number 2, he said, all tourists, all of them, they need drinks because that helps them when they do number 1. We're like, oh, okay. But he said, number 3, the main job in Hong Kong of all tourists is shopping, so you must sell something. And our policy, when Timberland donates shoes to us, we don't sell them to the rich, we give them to the poor. So we thought, well, what do we sell? And suddenly we realized in every country that we were working, poor people were making things, but not enough people were buying them. And fair trade? Fair trade? It's big in the US, it's big in the UK, it's really just beginning, if you will, within Hong Kong. And so we opened a shop on our site, and our shop is not big, but it is the biggest fair trade shop in Hong Kong. And so this began to sort of grow around us, but the craziest piece that even some of the delegates did last year was this. 10 years ago, we had our 10th anniversary, and we forgot. We forgot it was our anniversary. We're pathetic. We were just working, and then one of our staff came and said, hey, aren't we 10? And we said, yes, we are. What do we do? And you know, in Hong Kong, usually what happens for a big anniversary is you do a 5-star hotel fundraising, you know, like a dinner, which is cool if you can afford it. But you know, at Crossroads, funky thing about us is that we don't get paid. So we have about 75 full-time people on our site, about 400 part-time people, but no one in this model is salaried. So we had no money to do a 5-star event. But if I'm honest, even if we'd had the money, I don't know that we would have. And so we asked this question, how can we use this moment to show people why we serve? You know, I shared this last year, but I'll share it again with you. You know, one of the really funky things about Hong Kong that I love is this. You speak Cantonese, right? Okay, good. Can I ask you this? Tell me this. In fact, stand up. What's your name? Wang. Stand up. Can you please?
Test.
Tell these guys this. What is the Cantonese word for charity? Charity, 中文點講?
慈善
That is the Cantonese word for charity. Now watch this. This is awesome. Tell me, Wing, what is the Cantonese word for crazy?
黐線
Excellent. Now can you say the word for charity again?
慈善
Crazy.
黐線
And for me, this is perfect because we are a teasing place. We are a crazy charity. And our 10th anniversary, we had a teasing idea, crazy. We thought, you know what? Forget the 5 stars, forget them. Why don't we invite CEOs from Hong Kong to Crossroads, and when they come, we'll take away their watch and their wallet and their cell phone and their iPad, and we'll give them hammers and nails and wood, and we will let them build slums. We'll let them sleep on the ground. We'll let them eat with their hands. We'll let them make a road by breaking rocks for a day. We'll let them feel a tiny bit of what it's like for the people we serve every day. So we did. We brought these 16 leaders out. We put them in these conditions, and I thought they would kill me. But before these 24 hours finished, they came back and they said to us, they said, this is huge. I want my office to feel what I'm feeling, but I cannot force my office to do 24 hours of this. Do you have a 2 or 3 hour program that can help them feel? And then principals brought teachers, and teachers brought students, and suddenly Hong Kong said, no, we need more. Poverty is only one issue. What about refugees? HIV, blindness, disasters, the environment. Programs exploded, and it was then that the UN called us one more time. And in fact, it was the UNHCR, a dear lady who did an awesome job this morning. The UNHCR then called us, and they said this to us. They said, you know, every year in Switzerland is a very big meeting. It's called the World Economic Forum. Do you know this meeting? Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, anyone called Bill or with many bills goes to this meeting. But the UN said to us, they said, we can't bring all those world leaders and stick them in refugee camps. Time, security, money, they can't go. But we can bring the message to that meeting. And the UN said to us, please, could you bring your refugee simulation to Switzerland so we can run it for people at the World Economic Forum? Man, I thought this was a prank phone call. I'm standing there, I'm like, no. Because our refugee simulation, we have soldiers and guns and landmines and barbed wire and lights and tents. And I said to the United Nations, I said, you want me to ship guns to Switzerland? And the UN said, yes, it's a neutral country. I'm like, okay. So we did. We built this refugee camp right beside the World Economic Forum. And you know, in America, there's this phrase, a sentence. It says, if you build it, they will come. But it's not true. Because if you build something and people are busy, they just can't. They can't come. And the World Economic Forum, you have 2,500 people for 4 days. And in those 4 days, there are more than 1,000 events. And so we were 1,001. We thought, no one's going to come. Who could we hit? And we thought, you know what, Branson, Richard Branson, do you know the CEO of Virgin Airlines? You know, Richard Branson, he's kind of a teasing kind of guy, right? He's probably game enough to do this. And so we emailed him. We said, dear Sir Richard, you're kind of teasing. Would you be willing to do our program? And the next day I checked my email. It said, dear David, I'd love to. I'll see you on Friday, Richard. So Richard Branson rocks up. Then the next guy comes. He is the most expensively dressed man that I have ever seen. I'm like, who the heck is he? His name tag comes out. This dude is the CEO and the chairman of Gucci. I'm like, oh, no wonder you look so good. And then the UN said to us, they said, would you mind if we bring Ban Ki-moon, you know, the guy in charge, would you mind if we bring Ban Ki-moon to this event? And I'm like, he will not say yes. So go, I mean, he's too busy, so go ahead and ask him. And I don't know what happened in their office, but the Secretary General's office came back and said, yes, the Secretary General would be very honored to do this event. And when Ban Ki-moon and his wife rocked up to do this program, I learned two things quickly. The first is that I do not envy that man's schedule. Do you know that man's life during those meetings is divided into units of 3-minute segments? And he was able to give us 6 3-minutes of his life. But I also learned that he doesn't always know where he's going. A lady with a clipboard leans over in a black car. It's a convoy of other black cars, and they drive up. Ban Ki-moon is told, here, this is what to say, not to say these things, and he gets out in this politically correct haze, and he walks in, and I realized that Ban Ki-moon thought that he was coming to a talk about refugees. A talk. And when you walk into our simulation, won't do it with you today, so don't panic, but when you walk into our simulation, you look like you could be in the homeland of that brother who asked the question. It looks like Afghanistan or a similar type of place, though no nation is named. And you walk in to this village leader's home. There's carpets on the ground, carpets on the wall, and the Ban Ki-moon is sitting on the ground, and the village leader is standing at the front saying, please, my people, you must get down, you must go to the border. If you stay here, you will die. You must flee now. The rebels are coming. You must go. And Ban Ki-moon is listening to this, and suddenly grenades are thrown into the room. We have a massive explosion. The power is cut, and 10 soldiers burst into the room with uniforms, balaclavas, and AK-47s yelling, down, down, down! Ban Ki-moon throws himself on the ground. He's just lying on the floor. And you know, we'd had 3 security teams check our simulations to make sure Ban Ki-moon would be fine and all these things. But Ban Ki-moon still had his personal bodyguard there, a lovely guy from Tajikistan. And as our soldiers burst in through the sides, you can see his bodyguard standing with his hand on a very large weapon inside his coat. And I was so thankful that our soldiers were not taken down, because my soldiers are my IT guy and my plumber and my maintenance man. And the UN said, please, could you come for many years bringing this program? And so for the last 8 years, and again this coming year, they have asked. We have seen thousands and thousands and thousands of these world leaders go through. I've seen kings and queens and princes, and I've seen billionaires. I've seen all of these people go through. But you know the thing that I love? What I love most is watching them weep. I love watching them standing in the debrief afterwards saying to me, through their tears in some cases, I can't just talk. I must act. Facebook, watching them begin discussions with the UN about how to raise profile of displaced people because of their participation. I'm watching 500,000 farmers' lives improved because of this program. Syrian kids back in schools built because people went through these programs. Charities formed, people changing their jobs. And ladies and gentlemen, why are we here? Why is this word up here on this screen? Because it's not okay. And this world must be changed. And you know, the challenge that has struck me, we've seen 100,000 plus people go through our programs. And the thing that has been so huge for me is this. So many people come to me and they say, I want to change the world. I do. But I'm not big enough. I'm just a student. I'm just a banker. I'm just a dentist, a teacher, a lawyer, a banking firm, a law firm. I want to change the world, but I'm not big enough. And my friends, 3 years ago, I was in Shanghai, and I met a 9-year-old kid who just smacked me in the face. Not literally, that would have been painful. This 9-year-old kid came up to me, and this kid had grown up in schools like you would have, international schools with all sorts of friends all over the world. And he got an email, this kid, he got an email from some friends in Liberia. And the email had said this, it said, please tell the kids in your school, there in China, that they're lucky. Because in Liberia, most Liberian kids won't get a chance to leave the country. In fact, most Liberian kids won't even get a chance to see a playground. And this 9-year-old kid, he heard this email, and he said to his mom, Mom, that's not okay. She said, I'm sorry, what do you mean? He said, I've used so many playgrounds in my life, but these kids are never going to see one. He said, Mom, what do I need to do? What do I need to do to give the children of Liberia a playground? And the mom, she's thinking to herself, dude, you're friggin' 9. But she didn't say it. She said, son, what do you want to do? He said, Mom, I want to give them a playground. What do I need? And the mom's like, land. You got to build a playground, you need land. So this 9-year-old kid, kids you not, he goes to Google and he types buying land in Liberia. Google searches and learns that what you would learn is that you can't. You cannot buy Liberian soil if you're not Liberian. So he said to his mom, he said, Mom, I can't buy land, so tell me this, Mom, who has land? And the mom's like, well, the government, I guess, has land. So this kid goes back to Google, he types government of Liberia, clicks enter, and he finds lots of pictures of senators in Liberia. But one lady, in every photo, one lady was always smiling. And Ian said to me, she had a nice face, so I thought I'd send her an email. This 9-year-old kid writes this email. Dear Senator, hi, I'm 9. I want to give the kids of your country a playground. I can't buy land. Could you please give me land? Dude sends the email. Dude goes to sleep. Dude wakes up the next day, and the lady's replied, Dear Ian, thank you for what you wish to do. Sure, we'll give you 2 football fields. 9-year-old kid owns 2 stinking acres in Liberia, but the dude still doesn't have a playground, right? So one more time, Google. Playground for kids in Africa. He finds a company that I didn't know existed. They refurbish old playgrounds and they send them to people in need. He's like, cool. He saw a phone number, remembered his mom uses Skype to make calls, and this kid, 9, Skypes out. The CEO, traveling in Haiti, answers his call. Ian, 9. Hi, Ian, 9. I want to give kids a playground. Can you give me a playground? CEO said to this boy, no. No, I can't give you a playground, but I'll give you some options. You choose one, we'll see if you can afford it. And Ian and his best friend, they thought, if this is the first playground they're going to see, it's got to be awesome. And so they found this playground that had a slide that was 2 floors high. There was a zip line. It was a fine playground. They said, sir, that's the one we want to send. How much to ship it and send your team to build it and all of that? And the CEO said, son, that's an expensive one. That one's $50,000 US, plus $9,000 for food we stick in the container. And this 9-year-old kid looked at this CEO and he said to him, okay. This kid goes back to his 3rd grade class. He tells his teachers about what he's going to do. He tells his classmates about what he's going to do. He tells his classmates' parents about what he's going to do. More teachers, more classmates' parents, teachers, classmates' parents. 4 months later, that playground was on its way to Liberia. Ian, his best friend, and their moms were on their way for the opening ceremony. The smiling lady, the senator, she was there. The vice president of Liberia was there. 2,000 kids were there, and a plan was made all across this Liberia to build playgrounds, and Ian, 11, is now building schools and medical clinics. And I looked at this 9-year-old boy at that time, and I looked at myself, and then I looked back at these people who said to me, you know what, I want to change this world, I want to make a difference, but I'm not big enough. Do you know what I found? So many people feel disempowered because they don't feel big enough. So I kept going higher. I'd go to a bigger banking firm, a law firm. I'd go to the head of the bank. I'd go to the head of... Last year in Switzerland, I ran my simulations for the richest people in the whole world. And do you know what they also felt? That they were not what? That they were not big enough because even these billionaires on their own aren't. And everywhere people felt disempowered because they weren't big enough. And then I got to, arguably, the world would call the biggest, and even they felt too small. And it struck me as I looked at that 9-year-old boy, maybe, as I said this morning in that video, maybe that is not the right question. Maybe the question isn't, are you big enough? Maybe the question is just this, so who are you? Where do you sit? What needs are before you? What opportunities are around you? And how, as us, can we make this world change? Two years ago, I was in Poland, and I met some kids doing their homework. Do you know what their homework assignment was? Their homework assignment was this: to solve the ISIS crisis. Pretty good, huh? And I listened. I listened to these kids tell me the answers, these high school kids tell me the answers that they thought could potentially create some solution based on their research of causes. But prior to this assignment, they had done research on the genocide in Rwanda. Prior to the genocide in Rwanda, they had done research on other global issues. And as these kids spoke, I said to them, stop, please stop. Tell me this. Think back from your research before ISIS rose. What preconditions lay in the soil in Syria, in Iraq, in the region? What preconditions were there? And these kids said to me, well, in some areas there was economic desperation, there was poverty. In some areas there was oppression of a majority by a minority. In some areas there was lack of access to justice and tolerance, and etc. I said, pause. Think back pre the genocide in Rwanda. Tell me, what were the preconditions? And they said, well, there's poverty, and there was oppression of a majority by a minority, and there was lack of access to, and they went on. I said, stop, think back pre the Balkans. Think back pre-World War II. And I circled the commonalities, and I said to these students, I said, please understand, ISIS is not the cause. ISIS is simply that which has grown up in this soil of opportunity and desperation. And I don't know what will transpire through the Syria-Iraq region. I don't know what will happen there, but if you and I fail to address that, something else will rise in its stead. And I spoke to a general, a military general, not long ago, and he said this to me. He said, I have the capability of flattening an entire nation. He said, I have the ability to flatten a city. I can flatten a house. I can flatten a man. But do you know what I cannot do? I cannot change the preconditions. So I looked at these students in Poland and I said to them, so understand this. As I circled those factors, I said, this is the war that we're fighting. So who are you? Are you going into business? How can you and I tactically use business to remove economic desperation? I had some friends in Jordan. They saw some Syrian children in the equivalent of 7-Eleven, and they said to them, Habibi, why aren't you in school? And the kids said, school. Little kids. They said, school, why should we go to school? When we go to school, we can't get a job anyhow, and besides, at least ISIS is employing us. And these little kids get $50 a month because they are getting a job. So if you are using business, how can you do that to affect change? Are you using law? How? Keep going, it's beautiful, wherever you're speaking from. Just you keep speaking, go. How can we use that to create change? Are you in media? Are you a teacher? Ladies and gentlemen, when I was 14, so 5 years ago, I wanted to see this world change. And do you know what I believed? I felt like I couldn't, because there was a wall, an invisible wall that separated me from those in need. And I thought there's only 3 people who can jump that wall to help. One is the UN, because they're big enough. One is Mother Teresa, because she was short enough. And doctors somehow have a magic door passing through that wall. But my roommate at university was from Palestine. And he took me to dinner one night and he said to me, do you know where terrorism comes from? I said, no. He said, listen, most 18-year-old people you meet, they don't want to kill themselves. What do they want? They want a job, they want opportunities, hope, life. But if you systematically remove that hope from a people, you remove the opportunity to provide and care for themselves, you create desperation. And in that desperation, it leaves them vulnerable to actions such as terrorism. And so, ladies and gentlemen, can I tell you what this conference is not about? This conference is not about something else. This conference is not about that which is away and far from you or out there. This conference is about you. And so the question that I give you, the homework that I leave with you is this. So who are you? 70, 80 years ago, if you wanted to change this world, you had to look like Mother Teresa. That was it. But today, if you want to change the world, you can be the heart of Mother Teresa in a business suit, the heart of Mother Teresa in a doctor's garb. You can be the heart of Mother Teresa in an entrepreneur space. There is no role or place or way that you cannot use to see this world change if the yearning is there. And let me close with this. Life won't give you time to answer the why. If your life is anything like my life, people will be saying to you, hey, you've got exams coming up on Friday, got to be whatever. And then once you finish school, people will be telling you about jobs, and you've got bills to pay and rent, and all sorts of things will be coming up. And I ran my simulations I had the vice president going through them of a company that you would and I would visit every single day. And this vice president at 65, he said to me, he'd done one of these programs, he said to me, you know, I want to change this world. He said, but I don't know what to do with my life. And I was so encouraged that at 65, he was asking this question, what can I do with who I am? But it grieved me that he was asking it at 65. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight, after you finish karaoke or whatever it is, in the quiet of your room, I ask you this, take some time to reflect on who you are. You are weird for a reason. Your diversity will, with synergy, comprise a very powerful addressing to solutions of need if we apply them. At the World Economic Forum last year, they said there are over 2 million NGOs around the world. The problem, in a way, is not diversity, although, of course, you can always reach more. The problem, they said, is scale. We are not yet partnering together nor raising it to a level that is seeing the changes that we need, be it through the SDGs or others. My friends, why are you here? I would suggest this to you, that the world needs you. And it's not the nice kind of need like, hey, would you like to join my softball team? It's the kind of need that if you and I fail to take up this war, if you and I fail to engage tactically with the skills that have been given to us, the opportunities that have been given to us, if you and I fail to do that, then your children will meet my children on the battlefield elsewhere, reaping the consequences of our inaction. The environmental damage that we have inherited from the generation before that, we will have comparable kinds of legacies that we will leave to our children if we do not tactically transform not just a community, but this planet. Ladies and gentlemen, this conference is not a conference. It is a strategic moment to engage in a deep battle that I hope will not only change your lives, but this whole world, because it must be so. Thank you for letting me be here.
My name is Petros, and I'm from Cyprus, but I studied international relations in London. Interestingly, I had a meeting on Wednesday at the European Commission in Brussels with the Humanitarian Affairs and Crisis Management part of the EEC. And with the Commissioner's Cabinet, we exchanged some projects, some ideas that I had in mind, and I was wondering whether you have partnered up directly or indirectly with the Commission, because statistically speaking, they're the largest provider of humanitarian around the world, and not just in Europe, just to emphasize that. And at the same time, if you have not partnered up, I would be more than happy to try and help you out if possible, because I already have established some links and I'm already in communication with the Cabinet.
That's a lovely offer. Short answer is no, we haven't on an official capacity, though obviously worked with projects related to it, and it would be a wonderful offer. And if they are at the World Economic Forum this year, if they're heading there, then it would be a perfect time to connect with them and run them through this refugee simulation in Switzerland. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll have our next question at mic number 1.
Hello, my name is Faith Banka, and I'm from the United States of America.
Is your mic on? You have a lovely voice,
No.
but I can't hear that well. There you go.
There you go.
Okay, keep going.
And I have a small organization in the area I live in, and the main problem that I seem to face is that I can't get, people donate money, they come to some events, but I can't get people to take action with me and join my organization and put in time like I do. How do you suggest to get people to want to take action and inspire them to want to join the effort that I'm making?
This may apply to many of you in various areas. I think one of the reasons that we run these simulations, and they're only simulations, they're tiny fraction of the reality, is that we began to realize that education alone does not always result in behavioral change. You know, I could show you 1,000 photographs, but when empathy kicks in, when someone's heart begins to engage, almost instinctively, their hands begin to move, but their hands may not be well informed. And so we need to both help them care and then help them find applicable ways that they can respond. And so for us in our simulations, we have 3 E's. It's kind of cheesy, but it's called education, empathy, and engagement. And so after the simulation for us, once their hearts are there, we then try and help them find relevant ways, whether they're 6-year-old or whether they're a law firm. And so in particular, thinking further what we can do to help empathy grow in their hearts, because once their heart is in, their hands and wallet and other things may follow. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next question at mic 2.
Hi, my name is Jasper Benitez, and I'm representing the United States of America. My entire life I don't identify with any gender, and my entire life has been surrounded with me having to fight for my acceptance. So my question is, how other than verbalizing it to others that I meet, can I make others realize that someone being accepted for who they are, regardless of their gender identity, gender expression, and a plethora of things, that it is just as important as having a home or having physical items and your physical needs met?
Can you say the first half of the question again? I lost the first half.
Yes, of course. So it's how, other than verbalizing it,
Yes.
can I make others realize that someone being accepted for who they are, regardless of what that is just as important as them having a home or having, physical items donated to them and stuff like that.
Sure, yeah. I don't have one perfect answer, but I think a thought that comes to mind is that all of us in this room wrestle with identity. All of us. We seek our identity somewhere. We seek it in the position of the job we hope to have, or the university we have, or the family that we have. All of us wrestle with identity. And it's something that we're afraid of as well. We're afraid that maybe we'll be seen out for not being as awesome as we want to be, or these things. It is something that is common to all men. But I think being able to help people, and I don't have the specific answer for you, but being able to help people see where their identity comes from, and also understand even the loss of that. You know, our refugee simulation, by way of example, it removes whatever your history was. You cross that border, it doesn't matter what your ID card, you were a mayor, you were a beggar, you're a refugee, you're displaced to some degree. And I think trying to help people to strip them, or to help them understand, if those things were gone, who are you? You know, I have a friend who is blind, and one of the things I love most about him is that he does not judge me by my hair, and he doesn't judge me by my teeth. He doesn't judge me by my height or my lack of muscle or presence. He just meets me. And I think even if you were, for example, even if you were to have just a conversation in pitch black with people, for example, just in the dark, and so you can't be bought by their rings and their jewelry, it's you meeting you. And then you begin to value them for who they are, not the identity that we seem to carry with us. But thank you for asking that in such a nuanced way. It's a right fight, a precious fight, so thank you.